Hello, Teddy. How are you?
Hey Sandra, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Thank you for coming on my show. And this is my podcast where we're live on LinkedIn and on YouTube at the same time. And this is Teddy Nguyen, my friend and fellow financial coach. You serve more the Gen Zs and millennial generation. And the topic today we're going to talk about is how to spend wisely and still be social.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Teddy. I am a money coach and I work with millennials and Gen Z, understand like how we implement our money stuff into our lives without feeling all like weird about it. So I love the topic of basically staying social on a budget. I didn't know how you wanted to go about this, if it was like a Q&A style conversation or
Oh,
I
no.
got a couple of
Yeah,
points to just go straight into
conversational.
it.
Yeah. And I mean, do you want to tell people a little bit about your day job while you still have it?
Yeah. So in addition to what I do as a money coach, I'm a social worker. So I get a lot of information and application of like behavioral stuff in our lives, usually in regards to like mental health, but just weaving a lot of that into the money coaching practice to understand how do we interact with our money, both like our relationship with money, but also how we use money in our relationships with other people. And by understanding those interactions, we can have this financial wellness, having like richness in our life. So yeah, full-time social worker. I work in child welfare and I've been doing that for like 2-ish, 3-ish years, I think. Losing track of time on that one.
Well, yeah. And I mean, just for people who don't know, you are relatively young. So it's not like you've had a long time to have such a long career, but very impressive. Yes. Yeah. So let's start off talking about how can people still be social while not overspending? Just kind of like some broad ideas and takeaways from that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when I was thinking about this, there were probably about 4 or 5 points I really wanted to highlight that I think are super valuable for people. I think when we're talking about being social, we have to really consider like why are we social? Like why do we want to be social? Right? And when we're really like digging down into it, we want to have healthy relationships or like intimate relationships with people that truly matter to us and that just add value to our lives, whether it's emotional support, professional support, just knowing that someone loves you unconditionally. Like that is why we're social. And to be able to spend in a way that highlights that aspect of social interaction is actually fairly simple, but we make it all messy with like having to do fancy parties or big gifts and all these things. But when you really, trim it down, being social in any setting, like say like a home, what do you call it, housewarming party or just getting a lunch with someone, those actually are pretty inexpensive things to do. But we get ourselves in the trap of needing to spend money on all of these like extravagant friend gatherings or business parties or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, really the principle is just like we should really reset our standards of what are we trying to get from these social interactions, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because have you ever heard from people that the best way to just not spend money is to not leave your house? And it's funny because when you get in that mindset and attitude, you kind of just associate not spending money with just staying all holed up at home, right? You're like,
Mm,
it's not going to go, I won't, use any gas in my car. I'm not going to see anybody or do anything. So, what do you think about that?
yeah, I think there's definitely value to that, but with the power of the internet, we can spend a lot of money just by ourselves
That's
at
true.
home, right? But kind of along the same lines, I do like that principle in the sense that when we think about hanging out with people, like why don't we hang out with people at our home, right? I mean, a lot of us don't like to clean our house and stuff to have people over, but like potlucks are a great way to interact with the people that care about you. And if you're not comfortable enough to invite them to your home, maybe you should think about what kind of
Yeah.
relationship you have, right?
Yeah. Your real friends will come to your house and you can like not have your hair done or any makeup and they will eat some of your leftovers and your half, empty bottle of wine. Yeah. They will they're like those are your real friends. You don't have to clean up as much for them or go on all these outings. I also think maybe just social media, just the prevalence of people are photographing all their events and what they do. And if you're just at someone's house, how is that interesting? Or, you're not at some new restaurant or playing Top Golf or something like that.
Yeah. And what I think is really interesting is that like, even if we do those things, those more costly outings where we're like spending money and things like that, there are a lot of ways to go about still doing that while protecting your own home, your own budget. Like for this is like an actual practice that I do. I hardly ever eat out, and I only reserve eating out for like social events. So all the money I'm saving, not eating out or DoorDash and stuff, I can use it for those relationships. Or if I want to buy some extra desserts or drinks and whatever, I can do that because I didn't waste it on eating out for myself, if that makes sense.
Okay, but what about people noticing that you're not buying or eat? And this is true because I remember that one time we met at Panera. You did not buy anything. You could drink water at Panera.
Okay. Well, you caught me there. But I like there are definitely situations where I totally didn't care too much about the cost of, say, going out to dinner or something because that was budgeted, right? If I give myself $200 a month to eat out and I'm not eating out by myself, if I'm not just grabbing Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, then that gives me more money to use for those intentional situations of eating out. And the Panera incident was actually something else I wanted to talk on. This idea of like, I think there is a little bit of discomfort not
Yeah, when
participating,
people are like, you're not
right?
going to get something or you're not going to get a drink. And like, how do you deal with, I think that's also what a lot of people worry about, the social pressure or someone's noticing, or let's say you're at a bar or a happy hour and someone noticing that you're not getting a, maybe, a alcoholic drink that's $10 or so and you just don't want to, or you're not getting the appetizers like everyone else.
Yeah, like usually in situations like that, I actually had to face this a lot when I was losing weight too. The social pressure of buying more food, buying drinks, things like that. It was almost like exposure therapy that it was super, super uncomfortable
Yeah.
to like be the odd one out. And at the end of the day, all those, after 15, 20, 30 times of doing it, that I realized like, yeah, maybe you'll get a little side eye from like ordering a smaller meal or ordering water instead of like, an alcoholic drink or even a regular drink. But at the end of the day, like it's really just a passing comment, right? You can still spend a little money on a small entree or an appetizer or whatever. Like no one's really like watching you eat or watching you drink. And there's plenty of
Yeah.
excuses to get around other than like, I don't want to spend money. Like I personally just don't drink at all. Like I don't drink alcohol even at home. And so
I didn't
like
know.
to get around that, I just don't drink alcohol. I don't have an affinity for it. And that helps me say no to those kind of drinks. But I know not everyone's like that. Yeah. I'm curious, Sandra, do you also have kind of like going into social settings? Like what is some of your mentality to go out that?
Yeah, yeah, because you're right. I think it's just a point of conversation sometimes to ask people like, "What are you getting off the menu?" or "What drink are you getting?" Right? And you feel like you're the odd person out. And I don't know about you. I feel like in our area, maybe it's just the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I feel like so many events revolve around eating out, like meeting at restaurants or where are you going to eat, or even when I used to lead a meetup group, even if it was a very fun, active social activity, people would still be like, "Where are we eating?"
Yeah.
They still want to know where are we eating, or they just prefer events at restaurants. But sometimes when you meet over these, you're just eating, it's not the best social situations because you're stuck at maybe this long table and
Yeah.
you can't move around. It looks weird, right? Moving around during a meal and you're kind of stuck between a couple of people and you're eating your meal, and it doesn't really create the best socialization all the time.
Yeah, that's what I noticed too, because you and I were going to a few of those meetups too.
Yeah.
And I found that there was like fast casual dining, like Panera, where we could just get drinks, right? Or just coffee and like no food, or at least like maybe a small amount of food. Like we actually got to conversate more. I don't know if you were there with Olive Garden or whatever, but I'm eating like Olive Garden, trying to talk to people and I gotta wipe sauce off my face and
Yeah.
get the salad.
And you
And it
can't
really,
change seats because you'll confuse the waiter.
yeah. And so like, I think when we're really thinking about like the outcome of a social interaction like that, isn't really to like enjoy the food. Yeah, like enjoying food is great, but to really have that connection with someone, if you're able to like be the planner of such social interactions, like frame the social interactions in a way that we can conversate, if it's like at a bar with drinks, like you just budget for your drinks, or if it's out for coffee or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, what about when the stakes are a little higher? Like maybe it's a wedding or a party
Mm,
or a bigger social event where people feel like, you'll hear this, like, I have to go.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So
sometimes there's cost incurred with that, right? Going to certain events, or if you don't have the right clothing, or, you have to purchase some food over there.
yeah, I run into that a lot too. And I actually wrote that down on my little notepad here. This idea of um, really understanding like, why are we going to an event, and are we doing it just to like please other people, Because
Yeah.
I've definitely got a handful of wedding invitations that like I didn't, you know what I mean?
You're in the
Um,
age range. You're probably getting invited to so many weddings. I'm kind of over that, where no one in my age range is getting married anymore.
but yeah, like weddings or
Baby showers.
baby showers, birthday parties, graduation parties, like whatever it is. Like if I haven't talked to this person or really know much about what's going on in their life outside of what I've seen on social media, I really have to ask myself, is this a relationship that like they care about my support? I truly care about their support. And if it does come at a cost, is that cost worth it? So, I mean, there had definitely been times where there are weddings or there are birthday parties that I truly love the person and I want to go and support them, and to get around some of like the cost of clothes, like they're at thrift stores, right? Or the
Mhm.
cost of gifts. You can find perfectly great gifts on clearance or on sale, and different ways to be able to participate in that on a budget. I think that's really the real principle is like, let's be intentional with who we're spending our time with, who we're spending our money with, and what we're actually doing, instead of doing it to fill some kind of expectation we think other people
Yeah.
have of us.
Obligation. No,
Yeah.
you're so right. That's such good perspective, because I remember I've paid for so many things in my 20s for other people. And I remember people kind of give me similar advice of like, how long do you think you'll really be friends with this person or still know them? And I was a bit like, no, I'm friends with this person forever. And some of them I'm not. Not like we
Yeah,
end up falling out, but people just fade away, right? And if
exactly.
they, I paid money for their like weddings and baby showers, and I like to be very generous. And I guess sometimes people think like, well, eventually when my events come around, all that money. I think that's a bad way to think about it, but maybe
Yeah.
more like you're saying, kind of how much, how close am I truly to this person? Is it even going to matter sometimes? Some of these gifts. I mean, sometimes your presence is enough, and there's already
Hmm.
so many people invited to some of these events sometimes, right?
Yeah. And I actually have a couple story, well, one story and then one just kind of like idea that kind of like you were saying, whenever I've like hosted a party or went to Christmas or at our wedding, like, yeah, I noticed some people didn't get us gifts, but I wasn't like bitter about it. I'm like, oh, they didn't get us a gift, like big deal.
Mm.
They were here, they're still showing their love and support. And if I were to get offended about some expectation I had of them to get me a gift, like, what does that say about me? You know, Instead of
Oh,
like
that's
what it says
really,
about
really
them.
true. No, you're
So
right.
like really to think about, like, if you're not able to get someone a gift, there are plenty of other ways to be there for them and all that stuff. I don't know. I may get some heat for this, and this like literally just happened last week. So if you're listening and you're judging me, don't judge me. So at work, we have a coworker who's pregnant, and so they threw her a little baby shower. And with that, I was like, man, like I can't shell out $40 for a pack of diapers for this coworker. One, we're just coworkers, like we're not friends. Two, like I myself have financial priorities, and $40 for any gift is a constraint, right? And so I say it's a hard choice. It was somewhat of an ego, like a kick to my ego, and kick to just like possibly being left out of not bringing a gift. I brought food, I brought, other activities and things like
Oh,
that, brought
okay.
myself, but like I didn't bring a gift. And what was super awkward, y'all, is that they were opening all the gifts there. and there's only like 5 of us. So it's like very clear who didn't get the gift. And I was just like sitting there kind of looking in my head. I was looking stupid, but like I look around and no one really like made a comment. No one looked at me funny.
Oh,
And I just messaged them afterwards, like, hey, I'm super sorry I didn't like get you a gift. But, to be honest, like it's financially not like able to, but whenever I am able to, or I find a good deal, or if I find something I can hand down, like I absolutely will. And her response was like, don't even sweat it. Like there wasn't any like animosity there for me not getting her a gift. And I think we get in our heads about like what other people think of us if like that expectation isn't met, you know?
yeah, yeah. Because to me, it's already amazing enough you're a guy going to a coworker's baby shower. Just really, I don't know how it works at your work, but usually it's always only the women go. So men
Yeah.
are never really invited. So even if they show up, no one would expect you to buy a gift. And then you think about it, especially when the money's spent on like just diapers. I mean, it's a consumable, they go through like a bazillion diapers, like when they're born, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like there is a little bit of practice that comes with like resetting our expectations in these relationships and trying to step out of like, so what if I'm embarrassed? Or so what if they make a comment? Like one of them could have said, Teddy, did you bring a gift? Like that would have called me out, And I definitely could have felt super awkward. I could have lied and just said, yeah, I just forgot it. I left it at home. I'll get it another time. And then I have to like figure out how to get a gift later.
No, well, you were
Or
great because it wasn't like there was like 80 people there or 40 people. I
yeah,
just all these.
it was a small group. Yeah. But I could have also been honest, like, yeah, like times are tough or whatever. And just like, there may be a little bit of shame with it. There may be a little embarrassment. But at the end of the day, the thing that I'm reminded of is like, no one here goes home with me. Like no one here is dealing with my budget or my spending or, other things with my money. Like if they judge me for not getting a gift or for getting a different kind of gift or not eating, whatever it is, it's like, sorry, like I can't change how you feel. I can just change, like I'm only in control of my own actions, thoughts, and beliefs. And that's one of those boundary setting and people pleasing things that I also like have to continually practice. And that's
Yeah.
how I go about it.
Oh, that is a really cool story of you practicing what you preach because when I normally do this stuff at work, I do like a group collection and I ask for donations. And I always tell people, like, let's say you didn't contribute. I'm like, I still say it's from everybody. Like, I would still include your name, but nobody knows who gave what. And it kind of like relieves the pressure. And it's so funny because I've had groups where people donate such a small amount of money. And then I had this other group where everyone was giving a lot of money, even though I left it very open ended. I just said donation. And like I said, it's surprising sometimes who donates to those and who doesn't. It's not always who you expect. It's
Yeah.
interesting, some of those types of things. But I always tell people it's a collective, right? So nobody knows who donated how much or if someone chose not to donate. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because same thing with like birthday parties or anything.
Yeah.
Because you sharing that reminded me of what we did for, what was it? It was like a Christmas party or something. And I brought the food. It was like maybe $100 worth of food. And like, luckily I was in a position to be able to offer that and give it. And I was like, yeah, this is just for everyone. Like, if you want to pay me back, like, cool, but don't sweat it. I know times are tough. We're all social workers. We're not making like boohoo bucks. And so like, yeah, I really love just kind of what you did there to like maintain people's dignity while also having that collaborative effort to still be social and not let money be the barrier,
Right. And there will be times where other people pay it forward more than another time. It could just be the timing in their life. It's not like they don't like the person or want to contribute. It could just be a bad time for them financially. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about another really, really common scenario that I think a lot of people always wonder or how to deal with is you work from home, but back when you worked in an office or something, you're around other people and people want to go out to lunch, like your coworkers, and you're that one person who's like brown bagging it or or if you had a work cafeteria, you're the one that doesn't want to get the cafeteria food. How do people deal with that pressure? Because I think that's a very common scenario. Like almost every day, people have to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. When I was working in the office, every single time I was there for lunch, I was like, hey, Teddy, you want to go out for lunch? No, just go out for lunch. Like, every single day this week. Like, y'all are complaining about not having money. That's why you don't have money. But yeah, like we would go to like a sit down Mexican restaurant where you're like, having this
Oh,
whole
was it even
feast.
casual or fast food? Y'all were like, you took the time to go to a sit down place? Wow.
Yeah, either sit down. I mean, sometimes it was like a fast food or ordering food or something like that. A lot of times, like I would do it every now and then to still be social and fit in. And
Uh-huh.
then as long as it fit in the budget, right? But there were probably like 9 times out of 10, I said no. I was like, yeah, I'd love to, but I'm busy with work, or I'd love to, but I already brought my lunch. And it kind of fits into that same cycle of like our desire to fit in is so
It
strong that
is.
we're willing to like compromise our own personal finances. And yeah, it's like some people, okay, I'm guilty. I say some people, like I actually did this. I brought lunch before and still bought the food. You know what I mean? Like,
I
cause
know you
I,
feel pressure if they all want to go somewhere. And I'll tell
exactly.
you, my old team, some of them, they would call me cheap when
Mhm.
I got to eat with them.
Mhm.
And even when we had a work cafeteria, which I didn't really care for, I don't know why so many people are so, it's the convenience, I guess, but it wasn't like it was subsidized. The cafeteria food wasn't super great. It wasn't, very discounted. So I brought my lunch and people would always make fun of me. But then I would think, well, I prefer to eat out on the weekend, right? That's where I'd rather spend more of my money. I don't want to spend it on bad cafeteria food every day, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's amazing. Like, even with inflation, even with the cost of food and all this stuff, you can make a pretty good meal on like a $4 or $5 meal that you make at home can be the equivalent of something you make like you buy for $10 or $15. And I don't know, Sandra, I assume you're a pretty good cook. So like,
Yeah, good.
you like, yeah, it's different, and it's almost like it was the same thing in high school too. It's like, oh, you brought your lunch, like
Yeah,
why don't you
that was
buy
even
food?
worse in high school because I remember
Yeah.
the pressure. I mean, I'm sure you have the same issue where your parents probably gave you foods that were different,
Mm,
packed food. I mean, because we're not Caucasian,
yeah.
and then
You're
there's
eating rice?
French fries and tater tots, and you kind of envied them, and
Yeah.
hamburger, eating chicken nuggets. But it's so funny because now it's way more cool to have like the custom, probably like an ethnic lunch, right? Compared to
Mm.
like, oh, you just have a hamburger or a sandwich, or you're just gonna get the fries.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think a lot of the themes I've seen as we're talking about this really is this idea of like peer pressure of like socializing, you
Yeah.
know, like we think we have to meet some kind of expectation to fit in or whatever, but when you really peel back the layers of the onion, that at its core, all those things that we do to be flashy or to fit in, like none of that lasts, you know? And the things that really last are those intimate relationships you have with people. And yeah, like there are plenty of times I've gone out to eat with people, spent 30, 40, $50. I don't even know like what goes on with their life anymore. But there are people in my life who are totally cool with just going to Panera and buying a $2 drink. And I know like I know that if I was homeless, I can call them up and I can go sleep at their house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the
I think
deeper, richer relation. It's not about like
exactly.
you have to go to Top Golf and take all these pictures, or we have to go
Hmm.
to this cool speakeasy and like put on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can really just be yourself around some of these people. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the biggest thing, I don't know who said it to me. Um, and it could just be a common thing. Like whenever we see these things on social media or like other people talking about it, like it really is a highlight reel of someone's life, of like the
Wow.
image of what being social looks like. And at the end of the day, like really being social with someone or really getting to know someone is not fancy or expensive. It can look boring to some people, but yeah, that's my biggest thing. It's just like let's reset our expectation of what social looks like and why we're social and not fall into the trap of like empty spending or people pleasing or just trying to keep up this image, keeping up with the Joneses. That's why people, get the nice car so they fit in with their friend group or fit in with their family, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, it's so true. It's making me think a lot about it because I also think maybe some of the differences with I don't know how you feel about it, men versus women. Because I think
Mm.
men you don't talk as much always in social settings, and it's more based around an activity. So those may cost more money. Whereas women, we could talk for hours with over, a bottle of wine or something. So how do you fit in, like, you want to do these cool activities sometimes and it's not so low cost or at someone's house and all that?
Yeah, like I think that you actually make a really good point because I forget that the social interactions between men and women are different. Like doing some kind of activity like among guys is a very like bonding thing to do.
Yeah.
And I noticed that like some of their friends I've been able to hang out with, we would literally just go to the park and play some basketball or just take a stroll
It's
around the
good.
park, right?
Yep.
Or even something that is like lower cost. If you wanted to like go to the movies or get some drinks or do something like that. Yeah, and same thing with women, some are accustomed to going shopping. You're not necessarily spending on each other or like with each other, you're spending for yourself, but
Brunch is a very popular thing to do.
brunch is popular. Yeah. Um, yeah, so I think getting around some of that stuff, well, I can only speak from a guy's perspective. A lot of the friends that I am close with will totally be cool with just like playing some sports together or yeah, going out for some coffee and then taking a stroll or something like that, you know?
Oh, those are good ideas. I did not even think about that. Because if you just play a sport, that's still active. You don't
Mhm.
have to always spend a bunch of money doing that because it's just outdoors, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to like go to the gym as my social setting for some friends. Like I would be like, hey, you want to come work out sometime? And then we're talking in between sets. We're like encouraging one another. We're being
Uh,
social, and I'm
Probably a
not
good
paying.
one for guys. Yeah, meet at the
Yeah.
gym and do a workout. I never even thought of that. That's a good one too. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And like I'm already paying for the membership, right? I'm not paying anything extra to bring them. So,
Yeah, and motivate each other. But yeah, as we're ending, I want to give you a chance to talk about this bingo thing that you did recently and tell us all about it.
oh, yeah. Yeah. I appreciate you bringing that up. So, as part of my money coaching, I really focus on trying to make money fun, digestible, easy to understand. So I made a bingo game. It's like 24 things to do to level up your finances. And it had activities like make a quick budget or go a week without eating out. Another one is like just decluttering your pantry, like simple things like that, running your credit report, um, so that like people can have tangible steps to level up their finances that are practical, right? Not just like create a budget and here's how to stick to the budget. And of course, bingo, like who doesn't like bingo? And what I made fun with it is that like if you finish the entire bingo card, you go get your name in a raffle for $100 prize. And I had about 10 or 11 like actively playing bingo, and I had about two people finish the card. Like there were some people that got really close. They got like
You
two or
did
three.
out. That's a lot. But that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. Yeah, I wanted like each of the items on the bingo card were actually really easy. Maybe it takes 5 minutes,
Okay.
10 minutes, 20 minutes, but it's nothing like super major other than like not eating out for a week. That one's probably the hardest one. But yeah, did the raffle and announced the winner, and yeah, $100 gift card. It was the prizes was either AirPods 4 or $100 gift card. She was like, my goodness, I didn't realize I would actually win. Like I had
Oh,
people saving like $250 in monthly subscriptions or $500 or $1,000 on insurance, or cutting just $1,000 a month in expenses. And even though they didn't win the raffle, they still got a lot of benefit from just gamifying the process. And so it's something that I had a lot of fun doing, promoting, just really creating content for. And I'm probably going to just run it periodically throughout the year. I think spring cleaning would be a pretty ideal way to introduce it, or, a summer detox,
yeah.
holiday
Maybe like
prep.
every season or something. And then I didn't catch all your sessions, but you did have video, right? Lives that you did along with it. Like, what was the frequency that you did for those?
Yeah. So whenever I ran the bingo game, it's free to everyone to play along in the group, but there was a VIP ticket to buy into the raffle and also get weekly group sessions of really just check-ins on like where you are financially, what can I do to support you, what kind of wins you have. And those were the opportunities that we were able to kind of unpack some emotional spending patterns, or essentially like think about what kind of fat we had to trim from the budget, excess spending we didn't even know we were spending. So yeah, those are weekly for a month. And the whole idea is like, these are 24 things you can absolutely do in 30 days. One task a day, you'll be done. And yeah, I think I was really happy with the outcome. There are definitely things that I would change moving forward, but very minor. I think it was pretty good success for the people that played.
Oh,
So
good, good. And the lady who won, I don't know her, but she seemed very excited about it.
yeah, she messaged me. She was like, I just saw your post. I didn't realize like I would win this. Like I didn't buy the ticket because I thought I would win. And so like it was a $20 ticket. She just got $100. She's not net positive on that alone.
You got to get her to do a picture of whatever she picks and to a social media.
Yeah, but it was a fun time, and just seeing people implement these small steps is not intimidating. And got some feedback like, yeah, this is like actually pretty decent of a challenge. It's not some kind of checklist. And I kind of prided myself. I was like, I designed the bingo card, and I felt super artistic about it. It's like proud of myself. But yeah, we just played it in our Facebook group, and just had like maybe like a post every other day or maybe every 3 days of just like themed posts talking about net worth. We talked about credit cards. We talked about just things that I'm actually decluttering and like playing along with everyone. So yeah, if you want to play along, it's in the Spending Detox community on Facebook. We'll probably launch it and we'll launch another game around March or April, is my guess.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And if you want to close with telling anyone, I mean, I know you already mentioned the Facebook a little bit, where to find you at and all that.
Yeah, so I am on a lot of the socials, primarily trying to get more into like YouTube content and stuff like that. But you can find me at Money Coach Teddy on YouTube, Instagram, and I think TikTok. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook too, but I would say the most active platform would be the Facebook group, the Spending Detox community. But if you want to just like direct message me, Instagram would probably be the best way to do that. But my contact information is also on my website, moneycoachteddy.com, if you want to like email or text, but kind of everywhere, whatever works best for you, I guess.
They'll find you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for being on. It was a really good conversation. I'm glad people got to know more about you and learn more about how to be social while not overspending.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me again on the podcast, because I think it was definitely a conversation that like I'm actively implementing like in this season of my life. And so when you brought it up, it's like, ooh, this will be a fun one.
Yeah, because it really
Yeah.
hits home when people know you're truly doing it and not just talking about it, right? It's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had fun. I was having breakthroughs as we were talking, and I'll probably rewatch the recording just because I liked it. I thought it went well.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Sandra.